For 22 cycles, Princess Arya Lyran of the Celestial Crown had not eaten a single meaningful bite of food, and every passing day carved new hollows in her once radiant face. Her shimmering lavender skin, normally alive with constellations of bioluminescent patterns, had dulled to a pale, flickering haze. The doctors on the royal dreadnought Astraeon's Grace paced around her chambers in silent panic. They had exhausted every nutrient compound, every delicacy, every rare ingredient harvested from exotic worlds across the spiral arm, but nothing went past her lips. Not because she didn't want to eat, no, that would have been easier. The truth was much worse. Her body rejected everything. Her mind recoiled from every scent. Her people called it the silencing, a rare neurological collapse that severed the bond between nourishment and survival. Most who fell victim did not live past 30 cycles. Arya was already on cycle 22. 7 remained. The room around her hummed with soft blue light, the glow pulsing with her weakening heartbeat. Her medical attendant, Lady Serene, wrung her 4 delicate hands together as she approached the princess. "Your Highness, you must try something today. Anything. The physicians say your vitals continue to fall." Arya turned her head slowly, her silver hair spilling like liquid moonlight across the pillow. "I have tried, Serene." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Every scent strikes like poison. Every flavor, a blade." Serene swallowed. "But you cannot survive like this." "I know," Arya murmured, "and yet my body chooses death anyway." It wasn't just hunger, it wasn't just weakness, it was despair, deep, bone-shaking despair from a woman whose entire life had been defined by duty, presence, symbolism, and strength. Arya was a princess of the Celestial Crown, heir to a civilization older than most galaxies. She had been trained since infancy to rule, to negotiate, to lead entire star systems with wisdom and grace. But now she could barely lift her own hand. Outside her ship, the bustling repair station Helion Ring orbited a dying red star. The Astraeon's Grace had docked there after a pirate ambush had damaged vital systems. The Royal Engineers were still repairing the vessel, but morale aboard was collapsing just as quickly as the princess's health. A ruler with 7 cycles left could send an empire spiraling into chaos. Yet Arya did not care about politics anymore. She was simply tired. Tired of fighting her own mind, tired of waking each day to a world without color, tired of pretending she could survive. She turned her face toward the window as the star flickered in the void. "Perhaps," she whispered, "this is how my story ends." Quietly. But fate had other plans. 6 decks below, a human mechanic wiped grease from his knuckles. Jace Rowan had been working non-stop for 7 hours inside the massive coolant conduit of the Astraeon's Grace, his hands deep inside alien machinery he barely understood but couldn't afford to mess up. The repair station's chief mechanic had assigned him to the job because nobody else wanted to deal with royal, fragile, impossible-to-please aliens. Jace, however, didn't mind. Work was work, and credits, especially repairs for royalty credits, were more than welcome. He unzipped his tool bag and pulled out a small steel container. It was dented, old, and scratched from worksite after worksite, but the scent that escaped it was enough to make him close his eyes for a moment. His mother's recipe. Earth-style slow-simmered garlic broth with seared herbs, soft rice, and ginger oil. A recipe old as his family's memories. A recipe from home. His mother had cooked it for him since childhood, when he scraped his knees, when he failed a test, when he got rejected from engineering school, when life made everything heavy. It was comfort. It was warmth. It was love itself simmered into a bowl. He sat cross-legged beside the glowing coolant chamber, letting the heat warm his boots as he opened the container fully. The steam rushed upward, fragrant and comforting. He raised a spoonful to his lips and sighed. He didn't notice the faint trembling of the air ducts. He didn't notice the ripple of energy 3 decks above. He didn't notice that with every breath he took, an alien princess fought for her life. 3 decks above, a miracle happened. Arya froze. Her eyes widened. Her pulse, weak for days, spiked for the first time in weeks. What is that?" she whispered, her voice almost breaking. "Your Highness." Arya inhaled sharply. A scent, warm, rich, delicate, alive, slipped into her senses like a whisper from another world. Savory, earthy, soft, comforting. A scent that felt like being held, not fed. A scent that connected to something deep and primal. Something older than her illness, older than her fear. Her dry mouth watered. For the first time in 22 cycles. Serene gasped, "Your Highness, your neuroresponses are stabilizing. Whatever you're smelling is affecting your system." Arya's fingers trembled as she reached out. "Find it," she whispered. "Now." Serene blinked. "You mean—" "Yes." Arya stood, weak, stumbling, but determined. "We follow it." Guards scrambled in panic. Physicians shouted warnings, but Arya ignored every voice except the soft, pulsing guidance of that impossible, miraculous scent. Every step she took awakened her cells. Her lungs expanded without pain. Color returned faintly to her skin as though the scent itself painted her back into existence. Down corridors, past startled crew members, through 3 security checkpoints that her guards practically shoved open. The princess followed the scent like a pilgrim following a star. Then she turned a corner and saw him. A young human man in grease-stained coveralls sat cross-legged on the floor beside the glowing coolant chamber, eating from a steaming container as if the galaxy hadn't just shifted around him. Jace looked up, spoon halfway to his mouth. Behind the princess, guards raised weapons. Lady Serene gasped. A dozen alien attendants froze in disbelief, but Arya did not care. She had one focus. The food. The human. The scent. She stepped forward slowly. Her eyes, dark, deep, nebula-filled, widened with something like awe as she whispered, What is that aroma?" Jace blinked. Lunch?" She swallowed. What is lunch?" Jace cleared his throat. "Food from Earth. My mom's recipe." Arya's heart fluttered, not romantically, hungrily. Her body remembered something it had forgotten. Warmth, safety, survival. "I must try it," she whispered, breath trembling. The guards tensed instantly. "Your Highness, that is alien, unregulated." Arya raised her hand, silencing them with a single gesture. Then, slowly, painfully, she knelt beside the mechanic. Royalty kneeling before a human laborer, a moment that would echo across empires. Jace blinked again. "You, want some?" She nodded, her voice shaking. "Please." He handed her the spare spoon he kept in his bag. Arya inhaled the steam. Her eyes fluttered. Then, delicately, she tasted a single drop, and the galaxy inside her exploded with light. Her pupils dilated, her hands shook, her breath hitched. Warm, savory, gentle, alive. A memory of comfort she had never known. Tears filled her eyes as her voice broke. "I can eat." She took another trembling spoonful. "I can eat." Serene gasped openly. Doctors cried. Guards lowered their weapons, shocked. Jace looked confused, but oddly proud. Princess Arya Lyran,
heir to the celestial crown, had taken her first real bite of food in 22 cycles, because of a human mechanic's mother's recipe, because of a scent she never should have smelled, because fate had tied two unlikely souls together, and because, sometimes, the universe saves you in the humblest ways.
For the first time in 22 cycles, Princess Arya Lyran felt warmth spreading through her veins. It wasn't simply nourishment that filled her. No, this was something deeper. It was the unmistakable sensation of being alive again. As she savored the human broth, her trembling hands steadied, and soft glimmers of bioluminescent light, dormant for weeks, began flickering faintly beneath her skin like a dying constellation reigniting. But just as hope returned to Arya's body, trouble began brewing within the immaculate halls of the Astrion's grace. Her guards exchanged uneasy glances. Her doctors whispered calculations. Her attendants watched with disbelief. The royal court had protocols for diplomacy, for war, for galactic negotiations, but none for the princess kneeling beside a grease-covered human mechanic, eating food from a container dented more than a meteor shield. Lady Serene approached cautiously. "Your Highness, we must escort you back. This environment is unsanitary. The risk of alien contamination. I am finally able to swallow nourishment, Serene. That overrides everything." "But everything," she repeated. Her voice was soft, but its weight silenced the chamber. Jace, unsure whether to feel proud, confused, or terrified, wiped his forehead with the back of his hand. "Look, if this is going to get me arrested or vaporized or something, I can—" Arya shook her head quickly. "You saved me." Jace blinked. "I just warmed up lunch." "You saved me," she repeated, her voice shaking. "Do you understand? I was dying. The scent of your food, your mother's recipe, broke through the illness that nothing else could reach." She inhaled deeply, as if memorizing it. "This is my lifeline." Her guards exchanged frantic whispers, the kind of whispers that spelled political problems, public scandal, and protocols being broken so loudly the echoes might reach entire star clusters. But Arya continued eating, slow and careful, each spoonful reviving her fading body as color gradually returned to her cheeks. For Jace, it was surreal. He had never been royalty. He had never been anything close. He was a mechanic who worked 16-hour shifts for low wages on a rusting repair station that smelled like coolant fluid and burnt metal. People overlooked him every day. Crew chiefs barked orders at him. Engineers mocked him for being human. Customers assumed he was too uneducated to fix advanced tech. And now, here he was, watching a princess of the oldest empire in the galaxy kneel beside him, eating the food he grew up on, treating it like a miracle. A strange sense of pride swelled in his chest. Nothing in his life had ever made him feel significant before. But this was different. For the first time, something he came from, something humble, something simple, had touched a life light years beyond anything he imagined. But hope never arrives without resistance. High Chancellor Rethan, Arya's political advisor, famous across sectors for his precision and cold composure, strode into the engine bay with stiff steps and a face carved from stone. "Your Highness," he said sharply, "this is unacceptable." Arya kept eating, ignoring him completely. Rethan's voice rose. "You are the heir of the celestial crown. You cannot kneel beside a foreign laborer consuming unverified alien food from an unsterile container." "Chancellor," Arya said without looking up, "I am alive enough to kneel. That alone is a miracle." Rethan inhaled sharply. "You are jeopardizing the image of our empire. There are protocols. And if those protocols had saved my life, I would still be in my bed dying." Rethan stiffened. "This human is not qualified to prepare royal sustenance. What he fed you is
Primitive. Jace's eyebrows shot up. Primitive? Rethan ignored him. The optics of you accepting such food. Arya slowly set the spoon down and lifted her face toward the Chancellor. Her eyes, though still faintly dim, carried the authority of generations of rulers. The optics of my survival, she said, are far more important than the optics of my posture. Rethan hesitated, thrown off by the firmness in her voice. But Jace wasn't finished. He rose to his feet and wiped his hands on his coveralls. Look, Chancellor, whatever your name is, I'm not trying to break your royal rules. I didn't even know she was a princess until 10 minutes ago. I just wanted to eat my lunch and fix your coolant systems. Rethan turned to him sharply. You will be silent in the presence of no, Arya said sharply. He will speak. Rethan's jaw tightened. Your Highness, he will speak. It was the first time in 22 cycles she had raised her voice at any court official. Rethan closed his mouth instantly. Jace scratched his neck awkwardly. Princess, I wasn't trying to cause trouble. You saved me with kindness, Arya said. That is not trouble. Rethan's glare could have cut steel. Your Highness, the Council will not approve of this. The Empire cannot appear dependent on inferior species. Arya's expression hardened. Inferior? Her guards shifted nervously. Jace crossed his arms. You know, for a guy with 4 medals on his chest, you sure talk like someone who's never worked a real job. Gasps filled the chamber. Arya blinked. Then she smiled. Genuinely. Rethan looked as though smoke might pour out of his ears. You overstep your place, human. The counselor hissed. Now, Jace stepped forward, not threatening, but firm. You want me to fix your coolant chamber? You need me. You want your princess alive? You need me. So maybe stop acting like I'm dirt under your boots. Silence fell like gravity. Arya felt something deep in her chest, something she hadn't felt since childhood, laughter bubbling behind tears. She placed her hand over her heart. Humans are a young species, Chancellor, but it seems they are rich in courage. Rethan's face contorted. You cannot trust him. He is a mechanic, a worker, beneath your station. Arya turned fully to him. When I was dying, you brought me solutions. He brought me life. Rethan's mouth stopped moving. And then Arya collapsed. Not from illness. No, this collapse was different. Her body shook, not with weakness, but with sudden activation. Her bioluminescent patterns ignited across her arms like shooting stars. Her eyes widened as her pupils dilated intensely. Serene darted forward. Your Highness, what's happening? Arya gasped, clutching her chest. It's energy, my cells, responding. Her voice cracked, but not in pain. In shock. In hope. Jace knelt beside her, steadying her shoulders. Hey, breathe, deep breaths. Arya focused on him, grounding herself through his voice, his presence, the lingering aroma of the broth still on his hands. Her shaking slowed, her breathing steadied. Her eyes reopened, brighter than they had been in weeks. Serene scanned her vitals with shaking hands, and then she froze, and her voice broke into a sob. Her cells are regenerating, rapidly. Gasps erupted around the room. The human food, Arya whispered. My body accepts it. Jace exhaled in disbelief. You're saying my mom's cooking healed you? Serene smiled through tears. It didn't heal her. It triggered her survival response. The silencing is broken. Rethan stepped back, horrified. This cannot be a royal constitution responding to a primitive... Enough, Arya snapped. Her voice echoed with renewed strength. I owe my life to this mechanic, and I intend to honor that debt. Rethan opened his mouth, but no sound came. Arya lifted her chin, her bioluminescent markings glowing with authority. "From this moment forward," she declared, "you will treat him with respect, as you would treat any member of the council." Every guard stiffened. Serene bowed. Rethan trembled with contained rage. And Jace, the human mechanic who had spent his entire life being underestimated, felt something shift inside him. For the first time in years, he felt seen, valued, respected, not for status, not for wealth, but for kindness. Princess Arya wasn't the only one whose life changed that day. As she leaned against him, steadying herself, she whispered, "Jace Rowan, there is something else you must know." He looked at her with concern. "What is it?" She swallowed, her voice turning soft. "The celestial crown has tasted every delicacy, touched every world, conquered millions of obstacles, but nothing prepared me for the miracle in your mother's hands."
The next 24 hours rippled through the Astrion's grace like a solar flare through a quiet star system. Words spread fast, faster than official reports, faster than the Chancellor's attempts to suppress the news, faster than gossip normally traveled within the disciplined, orderly royal fleet. The princess had eaten. After 22 cycles of starvation, failure, fear, and despair, Princess Arya Lyran had finally eaten. And not just eaten, she had stood, walked, laughed, breathed, and lived again. The crew whispered in hushed tones, the guards exchanged glances, even hardened veterans looked stunned. But the most shocking news wasn't that she had eaten. It was what she had eaten. Human food. A mechanic's homemade broth. A recipe passed down from a mother on Earth. It was an absurdity, an impossibility, an insult to everything the Celestial Crown believed about its own superiority. And yet, it was truth. Arya was alive, healing, glowing again, because of Jace Rowan. But miracles always disrupt hierarchies. The Royal Council, the most powerful political force in the Celestial Empire, demanded an immediate hearing via holographic projection. The massive chamber aboard the Astrion's Grace shifted into its formal configuration. Floors illuminated, drapes of energy curtains shimmered, thrones of light materialized. The counselors appeared as towering holographic figures, each representing an ancient lineage older than many civilizations. High Chancellor Rethan stood stiffly at the center of the chamber, jaw clenched so tight it seemed ready to crack. He spoke with perfectly measured tones. "Honored Council, we convene today to address a grave breach of protocol. The princess has partaken in unregulated foreign sustenance. A mechanic, an untrained, unranked human, has been given access to Her Highness. This is unacceptable." Arya entered. Every hologram flickered. Every counselor froze. Every whisper died. She wasn't being carried. She wasn't being supported. She wasn't pale or shaking or nearly dead. She was walking, glowing, alive. Her bioluminescent patterns shimmered softly across her skin in fresh constellations, patterns unseen for weeks. The council's silent shock filled the room with a heavy tension. Arya stood tall before them. "Esteemed counselors," she said, her voice stronger than it had been in months, "the reports you have heard are correct. I consumed human food, and it saved my life." Murmurs erupted across the holographic chamber. Anger, confusion, disbelief. The eldest counselor, a being whose very presence demanded reverence, leaned forward. "You claim that your recovery is due to a dish prepared by a common laborer?" Arya nodded. "Not common, simply unrecognized." "Explain." Arya inhaled. "Your medicines failed. Your foods failed. Your delicacies and your science and your centuries of expertise failed. But this human's mother's recipe, simple, humble, made with intention, restored what nothing else could. Counselor Sirith frowned. This cannot stand. The crown cannot show dependence on lower species. Arya's eyes hardened. Then redefine what you call lower. The chamber fell silent again. Rethan stepped forward, bowing stiffly to the council. If I may suggest, this mechanic should be dismissed immediately. His presence is destabilizing. His influence, Arya cut him off. This mechanic saved your future empress. Rethan swallowed. Arya's voice lowered, turning colder than a collapsing star. And you would punish him for it. Rethan shifted but did not answer. Then the council delivered the cruelty Arya feared most. Princess Arya Lyran, your attachment to this mechanic is illogical. You will cease contact with him. His involvement in royal affairs ends immediately. Arya's heart stopped. No, she said quietly. He must stay. He is not of noble blood. He is not of royal training. He is not even of our species. Arya stepped forward. He is the reason you have an heir standing before you. The counselor's voice sharpened. This matter is not up for debate. The human will be dismissed. Your recovery will be studied by authorized scientists. Your involvement is no longer required. Arya's breath trembled, not with weakness, with anger. You will not separate me from the one who gave me back my life. It is our decree. It is unjust. It is law. Arya's voice broke. You would strip a man of dignity for kindness? Yes, the council replied in unison, for the stability of the empire. Arya stared in horror. The council had spoken. Their decree was absolute. It could not be overturned, not by tradition, not by pleading, not even by a princess. She collapsed into silence. And for the first time since tasting that broth, her heart ached with a darkness she thought she had left behind. Jace was summoned. He stood at the chamber entrance, confused, grease still smeared on his sleeves, hands shoved awkwardly in his pockets. Arya turned to him slowly. Her eyes, bright but burdened, met his. Jace, she whispered, I'm so sorry. He raised a brow. For what? For what they intend to do. Rethan stepped forward. Jace Rowan of Earth, by order of the council, you are dismissed from service aboard this vessel. You will be escorted to your quarters to gather your belongings and remain under supervision until your departure. Jace blinked. Huh? You are no longer permitted near the princess. Your interaction with her is considered a breach of protocol. Jace laughed. Once. Sharp. Disbelieving. Wait, so let me get this straight. You people couldn't save her. Nothing worked. She was dying. I give her food. She lives. And I get punished? Rethan stiffened. It is not punishment. It is procedure. Jace took a step forward, anger rising. No, it's punishment for being human. Rethan didn't answer. The council watched with cold, unreadable expressions. Arya's voice shook. Jace, please, don't. He shook his head slowly. Princess, I'm used to being talked down to. I'm used to bad pay, bad treatment, bad supervisors, but this is something else. You people can't even see your own arrogance. The eldest counselor spoke. You will leave. Jace exhaled sharply, bitterly. Yeah, I got that. He turned to leave. Arya reached for him, but stopped just before her fingers touched his arm. That distance, small, trembling, heartbreaking, felt like a knife. Jace gave her a sad smile. Hey, don't cry. You're alive. That's what matters. Arya's voice cracked. You mattered. The guards moved in. Jace was escorted out, and Arya watched him go, helpless, furious, powerless for the first time in her royal life. The council faded from holographic view, and Arya collapsed into her throne, feeling the weight of galaxies press down on her. That night,
something happened no one expected. Arya stood alone on her balcony, staring at the dying red star outside. The breeze brushed her silver hair across her face. Her skin glowed faintly again, but her heart felt hollow. She whispered into the empty air, "Thank you, Jace, for caring when no one else did." A soft sound came from behind her. Footsteps. Arya's guard stood aside, and there he was. Jace. Not escorted, not a prisoner, not dismissed, walking towards her freely. Arya gasped, "Jace, how?" He shrugged. "I told the guards I needed to talk to you. They said no, so I reminded them that I'm the only one who knows how to finish repairing your coolant systems." Arya blinked. "You blackmailed the royal guards?" Jace grinned. "I prefer the term negotiated." Arya laughed, really laughed, and the sound healed something deeper than cells. She stepped towards him. "You shouldn't be here." "Yeah," he nodded. "I figured." "So why are you?" Jace lifted a small metal box, silver, worn, familiar. "My mother's recipe," he said softly. "I couldn't leave without giving you this." Arya's breath caught. He held the box out to her. "Make it when you're scared, when you're sad, when your counsel doesn't listen, when you forget you're strong. Make it. Eat it. Remember what it did for you." Arya reached out with trembling fingers. This is priceless." "No," he said gently. "You're priceless. This is just soup." Her eyes filled with tears. "You gave me back my light," she whispered. "I won't let the council take away yours." Jace frowned. "Arya, what do you mean?" Arya stepped closer, so close he could feel the warmth on her skin. "In 3 cycles," she whispered, "I ascend to the celestial throne. When I do," she lifted her chin, her glow intensifying, "I choose